absolutely bizarre contribution from that member to stand up and to claim that a Labor government over 9 years, a Labor government that was focused absolutely on the core business of lifting the well-being of people and children, that Labor government did nothing to support children. I've got a couple of really simple policies that obviously the member missed, which would be quite educational for her to remember. Working for families lifted over 100,000 children out of poverty. We are proud of that policy, and clearly the national government is too, because they've done nothing to remove it. And add to that the fact that the member raised vulnerable children and care and protection issues. We were the government who made sure that SIFs were properly resourced to do their job. We reviewed SIFs in 2006 and boosted their support and the number of social workers in there. Paid parental leave, something that government just voted down, was something that Labor has a proud track record on. And, Mr Speaker, when it specifically comes to the issue around things like food in schools, we have a bill that says we want food to be in all decile 1 to 3 schools, so slightly different to this member's bill, but that's obviously why we support what is before us today. Annette King, when she was a minister, put fruit in schools as recognition of the need to encourage healthy eating in our schools. We promoted healthy food in our school canteens and tuck shops, something that government voted down. And the member said, her words, if I remember correctly, we support a hand up, not a handout, and mana for families. Mr Speaker, there is no mana in poverty. There is no dignity in poverty. And the children who are afflicted by it and who lose their opportunities as a consequence of it, they are the ones that lose their mana. Because where are they then left? To prove a point, the National Party would rather leave those children behind. When we're in government, we'll make sure that children are the heart of everything, that we don't place moral judgments on parents that end up costing their children. Who's better off when we do that, Mr Speaker? We've got to remember the context in which we are debating this bill. There are 285,000 children living in poverty. One in three Māori and Pacific Island children are living in poverty. That is an absolutely alarming statistic, and we cannot sit back. We cannot sit back and allow moral judgments over personal responsibility to get in the way of assisting those children. And that's ultimately what this bill is all about. But even beyond the poverty statistics, which are focused primarily on income, even if you looked at other markers, if you look at material deprivation, so that's an assessment of whether or not a family has enough money to buy 3 healthy meals a day, whether or not children are living in overcrowded housing, we've seen that get as high as 21% in recent times, Mr Speaker. And we know that has consequences. The member sponsoring this bill, Hone Harawira, talked about the cost of poverty. Even if that government does not want to follow the moral obligation that we on this side of the House feel towards children in New Zealand, even if they don't want to buy into that, they should at least buy into the fiscal responsibility. Poverty costs us money, and a lot of money, Mr Speaker, up to $6 billion. If we get this right, if we do something positive for children, we can actually save ourselves money as a country. And not only that, we start to see that we can enhance the opportunity for kids. And I'm not just saying this is pie-in-the-sky stuff. The PISA results, Mr Speaker, have shown, they've strongly suggested to us, yes, you've got a good educational system, New Zealand, they've said, but actually your social deprivation is starting to impact on your educational outcomes. Their strong recommendation to us and by the OECD was that if you want to start improving your outcomes, you've got to look at the child's wider context. It's not about just what happens to them when they walk in the school gate. It's about what happens in their lives at home. It's about what kind of support they have. It's about whether or not there's enough money to put food on the table. It's whether or not they're hungry at school. And that is the pure and simple issue we're debating. If you strip it right back, do we want our kids to go hungry? The obvious answer is no. That is why Labor is supporting this bill.
Mr Speaker.
Tim McIndoe.
Mr Speaker, nobody denies that there isn't considerable hardship in many communities in our country. and nobody denies that a child who is consistently